Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're listening. This is the Fantasy College Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Tony DeMarco. Welcome back, everybody, after a Thanksgiving break to week six of the Fantasy College Wrestling season. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Todd Chestic. Todd, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm busy at work, so it's nice to talk some wrestling and get a break from Christmas season.
I can imagine. It's been fucking cold.
Yes.
So,
Cold, very cold.
yeah, we're supposed to get some type of windstorm here in Southeast PA. I don't know. There's some type of wind advisor or something. I just stepped outside to turn off some Christmas lights, actually, and it started like snowing a little bit. So
Yeah.
kind of the first big snow I think that we're getting.
Well, right on my last loop of the night for work, it was not even snow, it was like hail.
Oh,
It actually hurt. Like it was hitting, it was almost like stones were coming out of the sky.
like the annoying little like gnat kind of real small stuff. Or
No, they were pretty decent size. Like
chocolate
I would say
size.
like penny sized or so. Like
Oh,
but yeah, it was like not like regular like snow. It hurt. It was like somebody were dropping golf balls on me.
there's going to be a lot of insurance claims then.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. Great. So we're getting back into the swing of things. We had a couple week hiatus. Not a lot going on in week 5. We had a couple duels, good duels. But the big thing was the Matt Town Open 1. Not a lot of movers and shakers from that necessarily. Some surprising outcomes. We had Julian Ramirez lose to Max Brignola, who's still on red shirt, and we can talk about that conundrum for the Lehigh later if we want. But first, let's get the pleasantries out of the way. How was Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was great. We had a small gathering this year. It was just like 6 of us. But my mom, like a few years ago, she switched over to getting fresh turkeys, like local farm fresh turkeys. And I think it really does make a difference.
Instead of like the frozen turkey you get from Giant or a store?
She gets like like a local farm fresh turkey that's never frozen, so it tastes way better.
Okay,
it's more expensive. I mean, we had a 12-pound bird was $50 some.
Oh geez, I got mine for free from Giant. So
yeah, I spent enough money to get a free turkey.
Exactly. Yeah, I got 1 point for every time I went. I went 300 times. I got a turkey. That's cool. I always wanted to do a kind of fresh turkey. I know Frank Popolito actually with his farm does fresh turkeys and stuff, but definitely has to taste better. How did you do it? Did you bake it? Did you fry it?
We baked it.
Oh, okay.
And all the fixings too. My mom, she makes the best stuffing. So I told her to make extra stuffing, and she did. So I had stuffing for like 3 or 4 days after Thanksgiving.
It's really the carb holiday. It's stuffing, mashed potatoes, all that stuff, the gravy. We fried a turkey. We had the in-laws down from Massachusetts, so it was just us, kind of a small thing. My parents and my side of the family went to the Stone Barn. They tried it. I don't know if they really liked it or not, but we were frying a turkey, and I was in charge, obviously, of frying the turkey. We have our fire pit, so I put it out there, got it all ready. And it was kind of last minute, but instead of the usual oil, like in the past, we've done peanut oil, which is good. You don't get a good crisp with peanut oil, I found out. It's kind of like Five Guys fries, right? They're not crispy, but it's got that flavor. I actually ordered, it only comes around during Thanksgiving, a 3-gallon tub of bacon grease. That bacon up stuff, right? It's the same price. Three gallons of peanut oil is like $52, and 3 gallons of bacon up was $54 from Cabela's. So I'm like, yeah, why not? I mean, again, it's the carb holiday. It's the holiday to be gluttonous, so why not? It ended up not coming in time.
Oh.
So I had to rush out and find some oil in order to do it. It came the day after Thanksgiving. So now I just have a 3-gallon tub of bacon grease in my garage. It's good until January 2027. So I still got like 2 more years to, I guess, use it. But
you could always fry up another turkey for Christmas.
Yeah, you could do that, I guess. Yeah. Trying to think. I don't think I can open it up and just like take a little teaspoon of it and use it in my fries or in my eggs in the morning. You know, just have I got salt, pepper, garlic salt, garlic powder, 3-gallon tub of bacon grease just right there. Just dip my bread into it every morning. But that was a little bummer. But we'll see. I'll find a way to do it, or I just return it and then try again next year. But we fried it. It was good. Fell right off the bone as usual. Turkey never stood a chance. I think I tweeted out a photo of it. It was just bones and cartilage. That was all it was. So again, another good belt undoing type of Thanksgiving for us. So sounds like it was good for you too.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, in between that wonderful wrestling and wrestling, there was wrestling in between that wonderful eating of turkey and everything. Let's bring up where the current let's see. Of course, I thought I had everything set up here. Current standings here. So top 21 of last week for week 5. Let's see if we can get this going here. Here we are. So at the top, Kelvin Griffin, starter for Lehigh at 149. He was entered. There's a smattering of starters at this tournament, and Kelvin Griffin being the big one. He ended up getting 27 points, which actually worked out for him because he did have one loss, but it was to someone that was unattached, so technically it didn't count. So he actually fell back in the wrestlebacks for 5th place, so he got like one extra match. So it worked out pretty well if you have him in WrestleStat leagues. Penn State had Jack Kelly there as well, 18 points. And then, as you can imagine, because there's only a select number of duels and things like that, there weren't a whole lot of huge point getters this week. But it did help Kelvin Griffin. That 27-point swing did help Kelvin Griffin get into the top 33. He ended up getting into, I think, the top 10 with that. Let's see. Yep. 6th place right here. So he went from not being in the top 33 to number 6 just because of that one day, because no one else was moving. You know?
Yeah.
Right. You still got some Duke guys up here. Aiden Wallace up here. Jimmy Mullins still present. Michael Beard still present. Ethan Bergen still at the top here. He's got Uncivil War this week, so we'll see how that goes for him against Iowa. Vincent Robinson still up there, and Matt Ramos up there. Lightweights making some noise this season. So this week is Las Vegas, Cliff King Las Vegas week. Obviously, everybody's fun week. You know, it's one of the hardest tournaments, probably the hardest in-season tournament that there is.
It's definitely taken over. Like, you know, the Midlands and the Southern Scuffle have definitely fallen off lately.
I was thinking about this, listening to other shows and getting ready for this. Do you think it's because in the past couple of years we've seen where teams will not send out full starters, or they'll have them on pitch count or anything like that? Take Penn State out of it because they basically don't do tournaments. They do the Black Knight Open, and that's about it. Or Black Knight Invite. But do you think Las Vegas is so well attended because it's so far out from March? Like, if there's an injury, you have what, 4 more weeks basically of heal time in case there's something that's wrong, as opposed to Scuffle and Midlands and Soldier Salute and any of those other tournaments in January, February. Like, do you think that comes into play at all?
Yeah, I do. I think the fact that if you have a guy get injured in that tournament, you have plenty of time to get, you know, healed up and come back to the lineup without really affecting or impacting your record and the team, if, you know, for duels.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, it's even, you know, three or 4 weeks before the other tournament. So, you know, if you do get an injury, which, you know, it happens every once in a while, somebody gets injured, you definitely, that extra time is huge for, you know, especially for coaches that really care about the dual meet season. You don't want to lose one of your top wrestlers, you know, for the whole dual meet season. But if, you know, if you do go down at the Cliff King, you do have a little bit of a buffer there before the dual meet season starts.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why I was thinking about that, but everyone talks about how great this tournament is, how tough this tournament is, rightfully so. But why has Midlands dropped off, and why has Scuffle dropped off? And one reason Scuffle's dropped off is because Penn State doesn't go to it anymore. I mean, that's a huge drop off.
Yeah. I think one of the problems with the Scuffle is it's so hard to get to Chattanooga.
Yeah.
And there's no direct flights. You gotta like fly into the first major airport and then drive the rest of the way.
Sounds
But
like
like it's very easy to get to Vegas. Like, I mean, it's out. I know it's way out west, but it's really easy to get to. And there's plenty of hotels. So, but I think my brother Kyle was telling me that it's a roughly, I guess it depends on the team, but it's about $25,000 a team to get out there. So
really,
yeah.
jeez. Well, yeah. Hopefully they get some type of deal. I know the website sometimes has like a deal with rooms at the Westgate, but they're not doing it in the convention center anymore. They're doing it in like an event space, like
Yeah.
they had carpeting last year, but yeah, I could see that. Flights, you figure even if you get a good flight, it could be like what, $200,
$200 or $300 a person
round trip. That times 10, there's 3,000 right there.
Yeah.
If I'm doing my math right, if the math is mathing. Yeah. And that's going to come under much more scrutiny within the NIL era, but we don't need to talk about that now. Let's talk about the good times. So we'll run through CKLV brackets, what we like at each bracket, good paths, things like that. We have the pre-seeds out here. Apparently there may be some scratches here and there. There usually is, but we'll see. Let's get right into where we are with the week 6 top picks here. So we do, outside of CKLV, we do have 3 other tournaments here: the Patriot Open, the Cougar Clash, and the Cleveland State Open. Those are going to be the 3 other really big tournaments that are going to have stars there. And there are some surprising starters going to those too. We'll get to it obviously when it gets to the weight, but like Rocco Welsh is going to one, Cody Chittum is going to one, and Steve O'Pollen is going to, I don't think Alira's is, but again, we'll get to that. So let's start at 125. Tyler, let's start us off. Who do you like at 125 this week?
I like Steve O'Pollen at the Cougar Clash. I think you could get a lot of bonus points at that tournament. Get 4 matches probably at least.
Probably. It does look like there is a good size, or from what I hear, is going to be good entry size. So it should be at least 4 matches.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, Noah Certain is also listed.
Yeah.
So that is, but we haven't seen a Certain wrestle this year.
I'm not certain if he's going to wrestle.
But he's kind of like Provo. We haven't seen him wrestle. We're going based off of last year's results. Last year he was a top 10, I think, fantasy wrestler, but we haven't seen him wrestle this year. We don't know where he is. So we have seen Steve-O wrestle this season. He's looked good. He's had a couple losses. I think he lost to Volk earlier, didn't he, this year? So that should be hopefully a final, but we'll see what happens with Certain, if anybody medical forfeits out of that too. Something interesting I saw, Max Gallagher is listed for the Patriot Open. Now, Penn has a duel at Virginia and then at Morgan State. So we'll have to check in maybe with Austin Summer on if he heard what their plan is, but only a handful of Penn guys are going to the Patriot Open. So I don't know if maybe they're veering off to Morgan State, and some guys are wrestling at the Patriot Open. So Virginia, I think, is a win for him. Patriot Open, I think he could win that as well. So if you have Max Gallagher or can pick up Max Gallagher, he's going to be pretty big. I also like, and I actually picked him up in our Matt Scouts League, Nicola Rivera. He's got 3 duels this week: at Bucknell, at Bloomsburg, at Lock Haven. Lock Haven's probably going to be his toughest match. Bloomsburg, I think, is a forfeit, so that's a free 6 points. I have him projected at plus 13. And we have one note I had here is Dean Peterson coming back. I didn't see the actual concussion. I didn't go back and see. I just saw Vincent Robinson was, on his way to easily securing at least a major during that match. How long do you think they keep Peterson out? Because you got to think if the good thing is you have Aiden Smith behind him, true freshman, so he's got those 5 dates that he could technically use. But it's kind of like Aiden Sinclair. You need to know, are you going to be starting this true freshman or not?
Yeah, I think it depends on how severe the concussion was, but I think it would be smart to at least keep him out until after the holidays. Give him, a good month off, let the concussion hopefully go away, and see how he does at the beginning of January.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they have who they have. They got Princeton this week, and they have Lockhaven then at Princeton this week. So that's another thing too. Mark Anthony McGowan, I don't know where he's been. He's been hiding in Princeton.
I was expecting big things on him. He's on my team. I haven't seen the hide nor hair of him, so I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, kind of need you to show up. Moving on to 133 for the Cougar Clash, Cade Moore and Dom Serrano should be meeting there. Braxton Brown for the Patriot Open. Alex Amadia is scheduled to be there as well at the Patriot Open. For Maryland, they're bringing basically their whole team to there. So basically all their starters are must plays. I feel.
Yeah.
We got Lucas Bird, Crookham versus why am I blanking?
He's wrestling Penn State, right?
Penn State, yeah. 33 was 25. Brandon Davis. Jesus Christ. It's that kind of night. How do you think that goes? Do you think Davis? When does Davis come back? Because he looked like he tweaked something in one of the.
I'm hearing that injury was pretty significant for Braden Davis.
Really?
Yeah. So he may get try to get a medical red shirt.
That's interesting because it just came out a little bit ago that Nagao had a serious injury too.
Yeah.
So
Nagao had already had surgery, though, I think a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
So they're expecting him back for the second semester. So they might do the 5-match thing and get a freshman just to go in there, just to put somebody in there. But I don't think it's going to be Braden Davis.
Interesting. Breaking news on this podcast for all 7 people.
Don't quote me on it. I'm passing on. I have a little bit of inside information. I'm hearing that it was worse than they thought, or that they're just going to probably keep him out just for safety precautionary reasons. And I wouldn't be surprised for the dual meet against Lehigh if they just put somebody else in the lineup, like a freshman or a backup for that match.
They don't need him to win the duel,
right?
Keep that streak going, but
especially since no matter who they put in there, they're not going to be Crookham anyway. So
you never know. Davis maybe could have if he's fully healthy, but that's the big if right now. But we've only seen Crookham, I think, like once or twice so far. So this will be good to see him back on the mat. We do have a couple good matchups here that I'm going to be making some lines for on Wrestling Sense. Drake Ayala, Ethan Bergen are going to be wrestling. Anthony Noto, Dylan Shawver going to be wrestling, and Zam Fugit, Kurt Phipps, I think is a kind of under the radar good match to keep an eye out for. Wisconsin, not their best dual team, right?
Yeah.
But there are a couple guys that will create good matchups with that Bucknell team too, as well. 141. Who are you looking at to secure your lineup this week?
Again, I like guys that are in tournaments because you get so many matches. So I like Josh Edmond from Missouri. I think he probably wins Cougar Clash, probably at least a few bonus points in there. Mm-hmm. So you're looking for a lot of points, really. Obviously, if you have a guy like Missouri starter, you're going to put him in for this tournament. So,
yeah, there's a couple starters there, and I got to think that's because Edmonds coming off he might be on a losing streak. Yeah, I mean he's had like 3 really tough matches. Yeah, but I think he might have won in Illinois against Pacino, maybe. I'll have to double check that, but I have to think that something like the Cougar Clash here, you're not sending Keegan O'Toole, you're not sending some of your other maybe really top guys, but this is kind of a way to jumpstart them.
Yeah.
Get a lot of matches. There's not going to be top tier competition necessarily. Get that confidence builder in getting into the winter break. Let me see. CJ Composto's listed for Virginia and Morgan State. I have him as +9. Jack Maida versus Buffalo, have him with a major. Moshe Schwartz, again, home against Central Michigan. Ohio or Oklahoma is hosting. Bartlett, I have as a +4. And
Yeah.
when I was doing projections and doing a little bit of research here, for some reason I still have kind of his freshman campaign in my head where he was at 49 and he was always getting decisions, and yeah, he was winning, but it was decisions. He's actually pretty high with a bonus percentage. He gets a lot of bonus.
Yeah.
At 41. It's just people probably just remember him and Mendez keep going back and forth, and that's always going to be a 1-2 point match, basically.
Yeah. He had a couple head scratchers last year where he won late against unranked guys. I forget the one dual meet that Penn State had. He won it was 1-1, and he got the takedown with 8 seconds left, and I'm like, that was weird because that guy's not even ranked. And he won, but I was like, yeah, that wasn't what I was expecting out of that match. I thought that was going to be a major or a tech. And somebody, I forget what duel it was, that somebody was hanging with him until the very end, and I was like, that is kind of odd for somebody at Bo Bartlett to not go get that match. But sometimes he has those matches where he's in control, but it doesn't look like he's really interested in racking up the points.
Yeah, maybe it was. I'm looking at the Russell stat here. Max Hermes from Rutgers, he won 4-1.
Yeah, that was the match.
Okay, yeah. So, and that seems kind of a little bit of an outlier.
And I think Hermes was the backup.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you have Mendez win sudden victory 4-1. Real Woods win 7-2. Max Hermes 4-1. Brock Hardy 9-6. Like it.
Yeah.
The competition, it just kind of a little skewed. But I mean, this year, again, quality of competition that you're facing, not top tier. But Richard Trainer from Army, he pinned Todd Carter from Gardner Webb, who's ranked 29th on WrestleStat. He teched Charlie Sly from Gardner Webb also. I mean, he's getting bonus points. So
yeah, he said he wanted to get more offensive for his senior year, so looks like he's doing it.
He's got 75 out of his 4 matches. 3 of them are bonus, so far so good.
Yeah,
we'll see how this week goes. Let's see who else we got. Dylan Chappell from Bucknell. I have him as winning by decision. Danny Pacino, I think, could get possibly. He's got who's he have? Henry Porter from Indiana. I think he could get a major, but let's just be safe. Let's project it as a regular decision. 149. Ohio State's going to be sending some of their starters to Cleveland State Open as well. Brandon Cannon hasn't wrestled this season, but he's a top prospect from a year ago, 2 years ago. I think
it was a year ago.
I think he's a redshirt freshman. Zeke Seltzer, Logan Joffrey, both at the Cougar Clash. That's probably going to be kind of a wrestle-off situation. Cross Wasilewski from Penn, also have him as +8. A different Cannon Webster, we have as +5. And Shane Van Ness have him as +5 as well. Parco and Ty Whalen are set to face off.
Yeah.
Who you got in that one?
I got Parco. Close match, but I think Parco wins.
I think that's on UFC Fight Pass. The Uncivil War, Army and Princeton are facing. I don't get the theme really. That doesn't kind of ring with me, but whatever. Wrestling likes. Was it the rhyming words or was it allegory? Or was it when 2 words are the same letter or something like that? Let's stop with the English class here. 157. Cody Chittum, Cleveland State Open. Word is that Chittum's going to be going 157. Panera is going to be going down to 49, and Echemendia is going to be going down to 41. at some point, probably the second semester. We'll talk about Pinheiro in a little bit at the 157 Cliff Keen Las Vegas bracket. But kind of interesting to see Chittum out here. I mean, the plan was he was going to redshirt. I think the whole thing with Iowa State's lineup is you had Swiderski, Echemendia, Pinheiro, Johnson, Chittum. You had 4 guys for 3 weights. And I think 65 was just a little bit too much for either Johnson or Chittum to go. So luckily, Swiderski got injured. He's out for the year, so that kind of opens up a little bit of space. He takes a red shirt, maybe a medical down the line or something. But Echemendia's got to go back down to 41. That's got to be a pull for him.
Yeah, man, he was big there last year.
Yeah, I don't know how he was making it last year, but Chittum's going to get his first ring matches of the season here at the Cleveland State Open. I expect him to win. Brock Herman's going to be there too. He's was at the top of the fantasy standings earlier this season. I expect him probably to do some damage there as well. I don't know if you see on the note, who do we have going to the Patriot Open there? You see that?
Oh, Meyer Shapiro.
Yep, he's listed. And again, it's an entry. Doesn't mean he's going to be wrestling. But while the B squad is in Las Vegas wrestling, basically, Shapiro's going to be at the Patriot Open. So we'll see what happens. He's got Ethan Miller that'll probably run into if he makes it to the finals.
That's really odd. Like, if he's okay to wrestle, then why wouldn't you take him out to the Cliff Key? Either you can wrestle or you can't. Like,
it's a good question. The only thing I can think of from my unprofessional seat here in my basement, they don't want to put him to the rigors of what Cliff Keen is, and they want to do kind of an easy transition back in. And I mean, this is probably the easiest of transitions that they could closest and easiest transition that they could possibly do with that. So, I mean, he's had a history of head injuries. I don't know if you want to subject him to, who else is at 157 for the Cliff Keen. I mean, I'm just looking at precedes 157, Antrell Taylor, Pinheiro Johnson, Patty Gallagher, Kobe Seabrecht, Ed Scott, Peyton Keller. Like, do you want to subject him to those All-Americans right now? Or, well, Pinheiro Johnson wasn't in IA, but you get my point.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. And hopefully he's injury-free. This is just a test run. He's good to go. He'll regain, the 157 spot moving forward for all their duels and everything. But, let me see here. Question for you, Penn State Todd. Who goes at 157? Kasich or Facundo?
I think for a while they're going to bounce back and forth and then just see who shakes out as the starter.
Well, the thing is, you're basically losing a year of eligibility from Kasich if you do that, right?
Yeah.
So, although I heard something, I think it was on the Stalemates Discord, that they were saying that the All-Star Classic counted as some type of, even though it was an exhibition, because he wrestled, it wasn't technically like unattached, so it counts. He doesn't have a red shirt. I don't think there's any truth to that. I don't know. I feel like
I don't know.
That would have been blowing up a lot more than I feel like Kale and company wouldn't make that mistake.
Yeah, I mean, they would definitely know the rules before they would enter him in the All-Star.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Kasich. Like, just the way that they've been wrestling, I think Kasich's looked better. I don't know if, like, I just can't imagine that. I mean, Facundo's got to be pulling a whole bunch of weight to make 57.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 years ago, he wrestled 65 for Penn State. He didn't look small at 65. So, like, 2 years later, he's down like a whole weight class. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe he just doesn't have the strength that he needs to be at that weight. Kind of like when Shakur Rashid went down to 165 to try to help the team out, and he just had no energy to wrestle. I mean, he looked good for like a minute and a half, and that was all he had. because Jesus, he was probably losing 30 pounds to make 65.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's kind of one of those guys that what we're going to be saying now in the NIL era is like Facundo maybe should have hit the transfer portal. It's kind of looking like he's getting squeezed out a little bit. I mean, he lost the Black Knight invite to Kasich. I mean, that
Yeah.
if fair is fair, but he could. There's some top teams that could use a 57-pounder probably.
Oh yeah, I'm sure if he can't crack the lineup this year, I'm sure he'll probably transfer out because Messenbrink's not going anywhere at 65. Haynes is at 74. Like, there's nowhere else for him to go.
Mm-hmm.
There's no open weights, and then you have Zach Ryder coming in. You have Barr probably going to move down.
Sealy,
Mirasola, you have Sealy, you have PJ Duke. Like, I don't see where his availability or he makes the lineup. So maybe he does split if he doesn't get start this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see in the offseason. Here, let's run through these and get to CKLV 65. You got Manny Rojas for the Cleveland State Open. Clayton Ulrey at the Cougar Clash. Gage Wright for Virginia Tech as a redshirt. I have him at the Patriot Open. Probably going to make some noise here. Michael Caliendo, probably the best of the 65, just from a dual meet perspective, has Army and Princeton have him as +9. You were just talking about Messenbrink. If he doesn't get a Tech, are you surprised?
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
And that's no slight against Lehigh and fastest on the wrong syllable. Against Lehigh, it's just Messenbrink's got to be kind of your number one seed going into Hodge projections, at least before Gable. But I don't even think I don't know. Do you think Gable is probably going to win it if he wins a title? If Messenbrink and Gable right now, if they do what you think they're going to do, but they both win a title, they both bonus as they do during the season, who do you give it to? Or do we have another tie Hodge?
Yeah, I hate ties for the Hodge. That was really stupid.
Very.
I would probably give it to Messenbrink because I think that weight class is pretty loaded.
Mm-hmm.
Heavyweight, you have, obviously you have Kirkfleet and you have Feldman, but it's not super deep this year at heavyweight.
Hendrickson.
Yeah, Hendrickson, that's right. I forgot he was back. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll be close between those two. And then you're going to have, there's going to be votes probably for Starachi if he goes undefeated this year.
Right.
Even though he won't have the bonuses, but, if you beat Plot, who's a returning All-American, and you beat Keckheisen, who's a returning champ, that's pretty tough weight class.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see and monitored. I mean, it's basically who's going to be the first one to get a major is going to be at a disadvantage, which is kind of crazy to think about. Let's see who else we got at 165. Andrew Barbosa for Rutgers. I have him as +6 this season. Aiden Wallace from Duke. As we said, he's in the top 10, I think, of overall standings so far this year. He's going against Davidson. I have him as +4. I haven't heard anything about Noah Mulvaney from Bucknell. I don't know if he's going to be back for this match or, like you said, just let's get anyone who's injured, just kind of let's get past the holiday season.
Yeah.
Start fresh in 2025 kind of thing. And then we have Braden Scholes and I think Derek Gilcher is going to be going for Indiana, which is an interesting note to keep an eye on for Indiana because Tyler Lillard was the starter over Gilcher first. And then I don't know if Lillard got injured or not. I want to say he did get injured, but Gilcher's in there now. 174. Who do you like here? Obviously Levi Haynes. Thing. Who else do you like?
I like Nick Incontrero from Penn. I think he has 2 matches. Could be double bonus, +7 or +8. I think for him.
Mm-hmm. He did miss the Keystone Classic. I don't know the specifics, but I don't think it was injury related. So I think we're probably going to see him this week against Virginia and Morgan State. Like you said, I think +7, +8 is definitely within the realm there. The projected or probables for Iowa came out, basically looked good all the way through. A couple ors here and there. TBA at 157, which didn't make sense to me, as you're one of the top 3-4 programs, and you don't know who you're possibly even going to put at 157 outside of Teamer. But they had Brands and Pat Kennedy listed at 174. I don't know who's going to start for which one, if one's going to start for each one or one's going to start for both. Because again, they got Army and Princeton. If you know who's going, I say start them. You're going to get some points. Maybe not bonus with Nelson, but you'll get the win at least. The problem is I don't know who's going to be starting.
I think like you said, I think they'll probably just have one start each match.
So that kind of cuts into the bonus of having 2 matches.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the most logical thing that's going to happen, but who knows? It could be 2 for Pat Kennedy. It could be 2 for Brands.
Yeah.
I would say there's probably enough to stay away there and get your points elsewhere. Moving on to 184, like we said, Rocco Welsh is listed for the Cleveland State Open. Jackson Smith is listed for the Patriot Open. Both those guys should be able to win. So if you can get 1 or 2 as your floaters and in your WrestleStat leagues, you'll probably get a lot of points. That's just what I'm saying. Gabe Arnold did not have an or next to his name, so I'm assuming that Ferrari isn't going to be taking one of those 2 matches from him. I have him as +8, and Starachi I have as +5 too. It really stinks for Lehigh that there's going to be a lot of text just on the other side of the scoreboard there for him. Let's see. Evan Ruth, Donnell Washington slated to meet up. That should be pretty.
That'll be a good one.
Sawyer Bart 197. Sawyer Bartelt. I always get that name wrong. Cleveland State Open. Is the only one from a tournament that I have listed there right now outside of CKLV. Obviously, all of these projections don't have CKLV in them yet. In the article that you see tomorrow, it will be there. Stephen Buchanan. Do you think +7 projected is too low for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think 7 or 8 is probably right where he'll be. He might go, even pin decision, like +9. Like we don't like to, predict pins a lot, but he is a bonus point guy. So especially against Army and Princeton, I can't imagine that there's anybody that's going to really push him.
Luke Stout is at Princeton.
Yeah, so that one might be a decision or a major.
But Luke can leave majors on the table there too.
Yeah.
So and Buchanan's looked good so far this season.
He has.
So I mean, he looked good as past couple. He's got that kind of Greg Kirkfleet nonchalant, like I don't really care about being here kind of swagger the past couple of years. This year he looks a little bit more invigorated. It's weird to see like him, Parco, and Teamer kind of like stepping up a little bit more. Something weird coming to Iowa of all places. That's just the push pull, win it out, grind it out kind of mentality in the past. But speaking of Iowa, a transfer from Iowa, Bradley Hill. I have him. He's wrestling for Oklahoma. I have him as winning +3 there too. And Dylan Bechtold, former son of one of my former coaches at E-Town. His son going against Wisconsin. I have him bonus +4. So Josh Barr and Michael Beard are slated to go. That should be a good match.
Yeah.
And Luke Stout's got 2 key matches here. One against Stephen Buchanan, one against John Poznansky too. That should be good.
Yeah.
And then 285, take us home. Who do you like at 285?
Oh, you got Neville's, Maryland, ex-Penn State wrestler. Still a good heavyweight. I mean, obviously not as good as Kirkfleet, but he's still a pretty damn good wrestler. Going to Patriot Open, I have him winning probably a couple bonus points in there as well. So if you have him like sitting on your bench or something, it'd be a good week to start him.
Connor Barkett from Duke also. I have him with a tech. Kirkfleet with a tech. I have listed. Yaroslav Slavikuski I have as projected +7. So gain a bonus in there, which is almost unheard of for him. He's a single digit bonus kind of guy.
Yeah.
You know. And then if you go to WrestleStat and you put in Lehigh, Treffin currently comes up. I don't think Treffin's going to be available until second semester, the way things work out. I think he was able to transfer from
Was he NC State?
because he was unattached.
Yeah.
So he never wrestled an attached match. So I think that's the way he was able to get it. I don't know. I mean, there's no rules anymore.
I would say probably second semester for him.
It's definitely gonna be a second semester thing. But don't go in if you're making your picks on Wrestling Sense. Don't go in thinking Owen Treffin's going to be your 285 there. And let me see here. So that's everything for week 6. Let's jump in real quick to wrap this up. Let's get over to our CKLV projections. So pre-seeds came out last night, early this morning. And as I like to do, because I'm a visual learner, I like to put it into a bracket. So I took the top 12 and put them in here. Let me share this. So here we got 125.
Oh, look at you.
Look at me. And so Caleb Smith is projected, it preceded number 1 here. You got Matt Ramos as the number 2. From here, 3, Troy Spratley, Tanner Jordan. Some notable missing is obviously Richie Figueroa with an injury. Jory Volk not listed either, which is kind of interesting.
Neither was I don't think Greg DeGovacahalis was listed either, was he?
No. So Cornell's, like I said, Cornell's sending kind of their B squad, and Marcelo Milani is listed. He's ranked 12th. I actually took him. I thought he was going to be. He was supposed to be wrestling, I think, at the Madtown Open last week. Would have helped me win last week if he would have wrestled. But I think Giacomo Hollis has an injury lingering or something like that. So I guess they pulled him, and Milani's in the CKLV this week. Now, looking at this, whose path do you like here? Let's get this in better.
I like Caleb Smith's path on the top side better than the bottom side. Where you have Spratley and Ramos on the bottom.
Yeah, this right here, a quarter of, again, this is barring any type of crazy upsets or what have you. But Matt Ramos, Vince Robinson, that's going to be a great match. I think that's going to be a great indicator of where Robinson is in the national stage with everything. Matt Ramos has been kind of just burning through competition so far, but he hasn't had the greatest of competition either.
Yeah, he hasn't really challenged yet.
Right. So this will be good to see him against Robinson, how he does against that. Spratley, I have him making the semis there. Tanner Jordan just lost to Cooper Flynn. So, I have him on my team. I'm a little bit on shaky ground with him, but him and Eddie Ventresco. Ventresco looks like he's back to his 2 year ago form. I think it will be a tougher match. Milani's tough. So I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy win for Ventresco, but I kind of see chalk here at the top a little bit. Semis, I have a Smith, Ventresca, over Jordan, Spratley, and Ramos there. Would you agree with that top 4? Yeah. Or do you see something different?
I think all top four seeds make it to the sems.
And in a tournament like this, getting top 3 for fantasy purposes is where you want to be. Obviously, you don't want to have a loss; you want to have the champion. But if you score within the top 3, that means you're only taking 1 loss. Not a bad outing for a tournament like this, especially. So I think who do you have as your champ?
I'm going to take Ramos.
Ramos,
the way he's been wrestling.
I think Ramos too. A lot of people are picking Ramos. just to be contrarian, everyone also has been high on Spratley. I'll take Spratley.
Yeah, I'm going to take. It's one of those two. I think the winner between Ramos and Spratley in the sems wins the final.
Now, if Robinson beats Ramos, do you think Robinson has a chance to win at all?
Yeah, I think the one thing with Spratley though is his head hands defense is next level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different style than Ramos, who's a little more wide open. So Spratley's one of those guys that can really shut down your offense.
Right. All right, so you got Ramos. I got Spratley on that. 133. Ragson's your top seed. Evan Frost is your 2. Brett Unger is going to be there. He's your 6 seed. Knox as the 3 seed. Buzakis as the 4 seed. I thought Buzakis was going to be closer to like the 6 seed. And if that were the case, I thought he could possibly make the finals. I was waiting to see how pre-seeds come out. And it still could change technically till Friday, but probably not too much. But with him being on the top, I don't see him beating Ragusin. Well, did they split last year?
I can't remember if Buzakis beat him. I don't know if Buzakis beat Ragusin. I can't remember.
I forget. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sure someone will correct us probably. Klebov and Reese Whitcraft are on the bottom here too. There's been a lot of talk with Tyler Knox. Obviously he beat Drake Ayala earlier this season. So he's kind of the hot hand right now. A lot of people are picking him to make the finals. Frost, weight's been an issue. I mean, I think that's why he wasn't in some of those early matches for ISU. I gotta think Ragusin's probably going to walk away with this pretty easily, but do you think Knox is a wild card?
I think Knox will make the finals. I don't think he can beat Ragusin. I think it'll be Ragusin pretty handily through the whole tournament.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see anyone really messing with Ragusin unless it's Buzakis maybe, who might give him the biggest trouble on the top side.
I mean, Buzakis is always he's a big thrower, so you can't ever count him out with a chin whip or a elevator or some big move. But Ragusin's kind of hard to get in those positions, so I'm just going to go with Ragusin as the winner.
Yeah. 141, Mendez on the top, Hardy on the bottom. 3, we got Cale Happel and Sergio Lemley as your number 4. Coder Hans 5, Sam Latona 8, which everyone's been kind of talking. He lost. I think he took 5th at the Keystone Classic, or did he take 3rd? He might have taken 3rd at the Keystone Classic the other week. Taking Jameson as the 6th, Jordan Titus as 7. I mean, I've said it in a couple podcasts already. Mendez just looks otherworldly to me. I think whatever match he's going to have against Alirez, if they meet, is going to be really good. I know they had that exhibition before and it was kind of low scoring, but I think if they meet in a championship, it's going to be wild. I think Mendez walks away with this easily. Hardy, though, I hate that I traded him to you earlier this season. It was hard to part with him because for some reason I feel like he's jumped a level. He looks. I think it's going to be him and Mendez in the final here. I think he's going to give Mendez a little bit of trouble.
I'll take. I think those two are definitely a lock for the finals. I don't know if Hardy has enough for Mendez. Just Mendez is so clean with his finishes. Like when he gets in, like he almost always finishes.
Yeah, I could see Happel possibly upsetting. He's a spoiler. I could see him beating Hardy, but right now my head is telling me Mendez champion, Hardy takes 2nd.
Yeah, I think so too.
149, Caleb Henson is your number 1. Ridge Lovett is your number 2. I think that's reversed from last season. I think Lovett was the number 1 and Henson was the number 2. Sammy Alvarez from Ryder. We get to see him there. Jesse Vasquez, Sam Cortella. Etcheman Diaz at the number 3. Jay Navas as the number 4. Carter Young and Ethan Fernandez will meet in the quarters here, or in the before the quarters. 16, round of 16. 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah, 16. Uh, Carter Young, I had higher expectations. He had that bad loss to not a bad loss, but Gabe Willichel took it to him and won. Um, we'll see if they meet sometime. But this is sometime this tournament. But this has to be a Henson Lovett final. Also,
Yeah.
chalk.
Yeah.
Do you think Esmeralda has anything for Ridge Lovett? Did they? I don't think they wrestled last year.
I'm not sure, but I don't know. I mean, Ridge Lovett, I know he lost in the semis at Nationals and did the semi slide. I think he was just devastated he wasn't in the finals. But I think I'm actually taking him to win the Cliff Keen. I think he'll beat Henson. I think he'll win the tournament.
Okay.
He looks so darn good. Even last year, he had obviously the loss in the semis, but besides that match, he looked great all year.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, it was kind of a controversial ending, I think, in the CKLV final between him and Henson last year. It was like did he expose or a danger rule or something like that. But yeah, I think it's going to be Henson and Lovett. I'm going to go with Henson because he's on my team, so I have to put that good chi out there, that good energy. But I think Esmeralda comes back for third. Jaden Abbas has hit a little bit of a rough patch this first semester so far. I think it might have been last year or 2 years ago. He had a good run through CKLV. Let's see if he does that again this season. Maybe he can make it into the semis here. 157, Antrell Taylor is your number one. I'm really high on Antrell Taylor. I think he's going to be one of the top. He possibly could win it for me, especially with Teamer being out right now. If Teamer's out completely, I think Antrell Taylor is going to be my pick to win nationals. Oh
wow,
I'm just something about it. I haven't one of those gut feelings. Peyton Keller is your number 2. Number 3, Ryder Downey. Number 4, Patty Gallagher. 5, Panera Johnson, which is also interesting that Johnson and Echemendia are wrestling in this, being that these results will not count later on this year. So I guess they're doing it for the love of the game in a way.
Yeah.
But maybe trying to win an Iowa State team title for CKLV. Ed Scott's your number 7, Teague Travis, number 10. That should be a good matchup there if they meet. I'm going to go with Antrell Taylor because if I talk him up about winning nationals, I have to have him win CKLV first, right? So I'll go with Antrell Taylor in this one.
I'm interested to see what Patty Gallagher looks like. He didn't look right last year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he was hurt or what was going on. I'm going to see what he looks like this year. But I'm actually going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to take Ed Scott to win.
Ooh, okay. I don't hate it. He's got a path.
Yeah,
definitely. Like the top half of 157 is a lot more daunting than the bottom half.
Yeah, he actually kind of lucked out by being the 7th seed. Like I think the bottom part is way easier than the top.
Yeah. And Ethan Styles as your 12 seed, meeting up with Johnson potentially. Styles has pulled off a couple upsets so far this season with Oregon State. So, and if you saw his interview on Flow, I think he's like, yeah, I got a hit list and I got a list of names. I'm just going to run through them and I'm like, great attitude to have. All right, so you're going Ed Scott. I'm going Antrell Taylor. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. 165, Peyton Hall is your top seed. Sammy Sasso is your number 2. Surprising to me. And I'll get to that. Barraclaw, your number 3. Hunter Garvin, number 4. Trying to see Brock Mantanona, number 9 seed. Will Miller is 7. Nico Ruiz, I think, may make a little bit of noise here. Tell me honestly, what are your expectations for Sasso this season?
I'm just impressed that he's even on the mat. I don't know how he's going to do this year, especially up at 65. That seems like a pretty big weight class for him. Like he wrestled 49 for most of his career.
Yep.
But I'm just glad that he's wrestling because, after getting what happened to him, just being back on the mat is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping for the best for him for sure.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I mean, it's great to have him there, but right now I can't sit here and pretend like he's going to make the finals of the CKLV. He could surprise everybody and make the finals. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Nico Ruiz is going to make the semis on the bottom side, and I think Barraclaw is probably going to come out into the finals.
Yeah, you have Chamamine down there too on that part of the bracket. That's a tough bracket.
Yeah, I don't know. Camomine, I haven't had much confidence in so far. His ranked matchups, he's lost. Basically this season. So, I'm going to go Barraclaw on the bottom. Top, I'll go Peyton Hall. I have to think him and Garvin is going to be a good semi. I don't see anybody else really standing in that way of a semi between 1 and 4 there.
Yeah. I like Peyton Hall. The only thing I'm worried about Peyton Hall is that Mantanona match in like the second round.
Yeah.
Because Mantanona's a gamer, man. He's really good. I know he's a freshman, but he's he was one of the top recruits coming out of high school.
I should say these are going to probably be close to 32-man brackets and everything. So there's a whole bunch of people that are going to be drawn in. Like, for instance, 157 has Rafael Hippolito, who's going to be drawn in somewhere in here. So you might get Hippolito and Ryder Downey in a match, or you might get him and Johnson in a match before this. And there's a couple other. I should have prepped a little bit better to see who's going to be the best non-seeded guy.
Yeah. Well, you'll drop Mac Church will be dropped into the 65-pound bracket.
That's true. Yep. I mean, he was what, a 25-pounder when he first came in, and now he's at 65.
He was at 41.
41. Okay.
Yeah, and then his dad's pretty big dude, so I knew that. I knew Mac was going to get bigger
at Waynesburg, didn't he?
Yeah, he was at Waynesburg.
Or he was 106.
Oh, you mean as freshman of high school?
Of high school, yeah.
I thought you meant freshman of college.
He's pulling a Zahid Valencia, basically.
Yeah, his dad's really big, and Mac, he was cutting a lot of weight his whole high school career just to get to the weights that he was wrestling. I knew that this was going to happen with him getting bigger. Now I think he would be at 57 if not for Hippolito. But I mean I don't think he's small at 65.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he seems to be doing well. I think he's got like a 7-3 record or something like that right now. So it's working for him. So who do you have winning this 165?
I'm gonna go with Peyton Hall to win it.
I'm gonna go Barraclaw. I have him still winning on the Cinderella run so far this season. This just adds to the mystique, the storylines going into March and or the Big 12 tournament. And March. 174, Cade DeVos is your top seed. Dean Hamidi is your number 2. Lenny Pinto, number 3. Lorenzo Norman, number 4. Simon Ruiz from Cornell at number 5. And Brevin Casella, number 6. An interesting potential matchup here with Danny Wask and Adam Kemp. I think a lot of people are just saying Danny Wask is going to win and probably meet up with Hamidi. I would pump the brakes a little bit. Adam Kemp still could surprise some people here. I got Hamidi winning this.
Yeah, me too.
I've always liked Dean Hamidi, not just because he's on my fantasy team. I drafted him, and I'm proud of my guy. But his match with Pinto, I think whoever comes out of that probably wins. DeVos is doing in his matches though, so. I don't expect him to not make the finals. It's just going to be who's going to be on the bottom side. Is it going to be Hamidi? Is it going to be Pinto? Is it going to be I will say, I think Simon Ruiz could make some noise too. I think he gets to the semis.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what Hamidi looks like now that has David Taylor as his coach. Because Hamidi reminds me a lot of David Taylor. Real long, body, lanky, really good at finishing and really good on top with the tilts and stuff. Like, I think David Taylor's probably molding him just like into like David Taylor, like 2.0.
Just a shame that he's a senior. So
Yeah, I know.
don't have more time with him. But I agree. I mean, he's again he hasn't had the toughest of competition so far this year. So he's been doing Dean Hamidi things of teching people. But it's going to be interesting to see how he does against top quality competition like
Yeah.
Kemper Wask and then Pinto, most likely Pinto.
I mean, let's be honest. When Hamity was wrestling Messenbrink at the dual meet, Hamity was beating the crap out of him for like
Yeah.
a period and a half. Like, I mean, that match was just all Hamity for a long time. So
Even at Big Tens.
yeah,
And then Messenburn came back and won that at Big Tens, right?
yeah,
Yeah. That was the one where he was up like what 12-5 or something like that, and he came back and won or something. Yeah, I was really pissed at that match because again I had Hamidi on my team. 184. I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say we both picked Kekheisen to win
yeah.
it. Plot
And Plot in the finals.
Plot in the finals. Bergie just had that tough match with McAnally, who we did get a question this week.
Oh wow.
Good friend of the podcast, Kyle Deeds, who's also in our league, other leagues that we have. He said, "Who would you rather take this year, Max McAnally or Bergie?" And so if you're starting one of them for your fantasy season, which one are you going to go with?
I'd go with Bergie.
Bergie? I have to look at what the schedule looks like for the season. I've always been high on McAnally. I liked him last year as a red shirt. I thought there was a possibility that if something were different, that he would be starting instead of Salazar at 84. I'm going to go McAnally. And you know what? While I got this here, let me see if I can bring this up. We can do a real quick looky-loo at the schedules here. And of course, that's not what I wanted. You ever click on Google Sheets and it brings you to Google Docs?
Yes.
All the time. I don't get it. Maybe it's because I have like 17 Google accounts. It just says, fuck it, I don't know what you want. And I'll send you here. There we go. Weekly schedule. So we're looking at the master schedule here, which you can get this from my Twitter handle at the Fantasy D1 Wrestling Twitter handle. So Minnesota, let's see, we're in week 6 here. So moving forward, got nothing there. Soldier Salute, Nebraska, Michigan. Then start hitting the dual meet schedule. 84 would be Gabe Arnold here. 84 would be there. And then you look at South Dakota State. So you got that quad. He's going to clean up right here. Soldier Salute. So there's a chance that they meet at Soldier Salute again, too. So Kyle, that could be your wrestle off for them for the final spot. Baptist. I mean, if I'm looking at this, probably for the regular season, Bergie is the right call. But if you're in a carryover league, which I know you are, you're probably I would say McAnally probably gets the better at nationals.
Yeah.
But
I don't think either one's a bad choice.
No. I think it's interesting. I think they're very similar. I think they're right neck and neck with each other. So I don't think there's a wrong choice. But regular season, I think I would go with Bergie, and postseason, I would probably go with McAnally. That's just me. All right. So we're both going with Kekheisen here. Stewart, I'm interested to see how TJ Stewart does. I think last year he EAA'd. Leading up to March, he had some good wins, but I think he was kind of up and down for the beginning of the season, the most of the season. Maybe he's on the same track this year with that. But I want to see how he does here at this tournament before I start saying whether he's going to be an every week starter in fantasy or if he's going to be a tough competition. Let's sit him.
I'm interested just because he's on my team. Rowley, I want to see how he does now that he's at a new school at Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
I have him on my team. I'm not sure I'm going to start him this week because he may take a couple losses at Cliff Keen, which would wipe out most of his points. So
yeah,
but
yeah, I mean he's going to run right in the plot in a couple matches, and then if everything falls down, he's probably going to run into like Jaden Bullock. If something happens with Birdie, you can fall down, beat him somewhere in there. Yeah, that's tough. I would say probably stay away from Rally this week.
Yeah,
let's see how he does. This is a very good litmus test for a lot of these guys. 197. Willie said that he's not sure if AJ Ferrari is going or not. He's listed as the number 1 seed. If he doesn't go, that's going to be extremely disappointing, not only for the fans, but for his kind of stock in being back in wrestling. He's talking a big game, Mr. Fast Switch, vroom, vroom, I'm a car, blah, 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 kind of stuff. If he doesn't go to CKLV and put it on the line, I don't know. I think it's more it's ducking, basically. I said at the beginning of the season, if he wrestles everything that CSU Bakersfield is supposed to wrestle on the schedule, he'll be the number 1 fantasy wrestler this year. So far, he's missed the Roadrunner Open, and there's a chance that he's going to miss this now, too. So that's 2 opportunities of tournaments where he could have racked up a lot of points. Again, we'll see when the brackets come out. But number 2 is Jacob Cardenas. Number 3, Trey Munoz. 4, Glazier. Obviously, if Ferrari's not there, everybody's going to shift a little bit. We'll see if that happens. Andy Smith is going instead of Sasso. So I forgot to mention too at 133 for Virginia Tech, McGonagall's not going, and Sasso's not going. So right now I think they got some lingering stuff that they're dealing with. So keep it till the new year, right? Who do you like here at 197? What paths do you like?
The upper part looks way easier because you're going to have Munoz and Cardenas and Luke Geog all in the bottom part. That's super tough, man. I think I'll take Munoz coming out of the bottom part of the bracket to the finals.
Okay.
And then obviously if Ferrari is there, then I'll take Ferrari. But if he's not, then obviously the whole bracket will shift anyway.
Mm-hmm. The potential of Ferrari Glazier in the semis is storybook.
Yeah.
Rating,
after the soldier salute last year.
Yeah, it's been perfect way to set it up. But if Ferrari's not there, then you got Cardenas coming up to 1. You have Munoz coming down to 3, or to 2, Glazier to 3. And who's 5? Smith there, 6. Everything shifts a lot because right now Christian Carroll having to wrestle Novak and then potentially AJ Ferrari, that just stinks for Carroll.
Yeah, that's part of the bracket.
I think if he'll still be obviously in that same spot if AJ Ferrari's not there, he'll just move to the 8, which is basically the same spot. But he would probably go against Cardenas instead of Ferrari, which I think is a better matchup for him.
Yeah.
Strong guy against strong guy, almost. I'm going to go Ferrari if he's there. If he's not there, I will say I'll go Munoz too. I think he bounces back against Serber. I think, yeah. Because, if he's the 5, then Server's going to be up there. Yeah, they could somehow. I'll say Munoz if Ferrari's not there.
Yeah, me too. Same thing.
And then 285, kind of interesting. You have Wyatt Hendrickson. That's not interesting. He's the number 1. That's deservedly so. Isaac Trumbull is the number 2, but Colton Schultz is number 3, even though Schultz pinned Trumbull at Journeyman Classic earlier this year. So that's a little odd there, and then Feldman at the number 4 behind both of those guys is still a little. I don't know. I don't know what they waited, kind of like when conferences seed their own tournaments. They put more stock in other things. I
Yeah,
don't know.
didn't Feldman take third at nationals last year?
Was it third? Something like that? High
I
IAA?
thought
Yeah.
he was third. So like, how is he 4th seed in the friggin' tournament?
Trumbull won CKLV a couple years ago at 97. I don't know if they're using that as something. I don't know. Possibly. But either way, we will probably have Trumbull Schultz semi. So that will be a matchup again that we see. I think we get Hendrickson Feldman semi as well. I think this is Hendrickson's tournament.
I'm interested to see him against Feldman in the sem.
Yeah. I mean, I was putting Feldman up pretty high, and then he had that. Not that it's a bad loss necessarily to Gayaldi at the All-Star Classic, and it's an exhibition, so maybe Feldman just didn't have his head into it as opposed to like if there were a real match or whatever. But since he lost to at the All-Star Classic to Gayaldi, I've kind of like scaled my expectations of him back a little bit.
Especially when you saw what Gable did to Gale.
Yeah, well, Gable does that to anybody.
Yeah, but like you thought that maybe Feldman was getting closer. Not saying he's Gable, but moving up the ladder towards Gable, and Gable was like
yeah, exactly. So Hendrickson, do you think wins this?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take Hendrickson.
Okay. And we talked about Gable a little bit. We never got into a lot of it. I think we're both of the same. Great. He's back. He's probably going to win it, but I kind of don't have a whole lot of interest in it like I did 2-3 years ago. Are you kind of the same way?
I mean, he's back because everything else he was trying to do, he didn't do very well at.
Yeah.
He kind of got bounced out of the WWE. He tried football, he didn't make it. Like, he's back because there's no other option really on the table for him as far as his athletic career.
Mm-hmm.
So it's back to wrestling.
Yeah, and I mean he's entertaining. He's going to be fun. He's going to put on a show, and as he's shown, he's the number one guy at 285. Now it's going to be interesting to see Hendrickson and Trumbull and Schultz, the top tier guys taking him on. But I'm kind of the same thing. Like, okay, great, you're back after trying everything else. Even though we wanted you to stay, you had that one more year of eligibility. You put your shoes in the middle of the mat. Now you're back, and it's. I think I said it in our group chat. It's kind of like Billy Madison showing up to high school. Like he's like, "Yeah, I'm back," and everyone's like, okay, great."
I mean, I was hoping that he would have wrestled at the Olympics, last year or this year. I mean,
I think if he was able to, if he, because that was the whole thing with WWE not letting him go apparently or something. If WWE would have let him go, and if he would have won another gold medal, big if, obviously, if he would have won another gold medal, I mean, that would have just added to, and then he came back to, after all this, he came back to NCAA wrestling. I think it would have been a lot better received, but it's because it almost seemed like he finished wrestling at NCAAs, took off his shoes, and was basically like, "You guys are done. I'm done with you guys. Now it's the rest of my story." But it didn't work out. So, hey, can I come back? Hey, I'm back. It's me. I don't know. I'm happy he's back in the sense of he's going to be a good wrestling product on the mat. But I'm not following the storylines. I'm just, I'm turning that page.
Yeah.
Right. So we took a look at week 6 best matchups and best guys to pick up in your transfer portal WrestleStat leagues. We looked through the pre-seeds here for CKLV. Now, again, those could change as well. Todd, you got anything else for the good of the cause before we call tonight?
No, everybody have fun, enjoy, watch some great wrestling. It's going to be some of the best wrestling of the season so far, in college and in high school, because the Ironman is this weekend too.
That's right. Loaded weekend of wrestling. So everybody, thank you for clicking. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you for week 7.
Take care, guys. Good luck.